Okay, hello, and thank you for joining me again for another video walkthrough. In today's example, we are walking or basically going through a recent build that I have completed for a client. And this application is basically for recruitment. So what does it do? If you've ever applied for a job and you have to wait 3 weeks just to get feedback on if you qualify or not, you probably know how painful it is to wait and wait to get feedback if your application actually cuts the pack. And also, if you're a recruiter and you get like hundreds of resumes for a job, you know how painful it is to go through each of these. So it's a problem that affects both the recruiter and the applicant itself, and that's what we are trying to solve with this new build. So how does it work? As you can see on my screen, we have a bunch of applications here. We have the candidate's name, the job role, the company, and the overall fit. In this example, I've already run a test. So we're going to start with one where we haven't. So let's start with the first one here. In this case, Aaron Pex. So we click on the application and wait for the page to load. And as you can see, we have some very specific requests that we have built our LLM behind. So we want to access and rate a resume based on these specific items. In this case, we want to give it an overall fit, justification, risk factor, reward factor, strengths, and weakness. And then on the second tab, we actually have the resume for that candidate. And on the third, we have the job description. So our system actually compares the resume to the job description and then helps us make the decision if the candidate is a good hire for the role. In this example, we've written a full job description, skills needed, WordPress, Node.js, and everything that we will be looking for from a potential candidate that is a good fit. So let's see the tool in action. So here in the overview, again, we have some information about the candidates. Of course, this is not a real candidate. We've just made up some of these resumes to help us do the testing. So if you send an email or anything, yeah, it's probably just going to bounce. And then this is the real action, this analyze match. So once I go ahead and click it, as you can see, our page is beginning to load. This triggers a workflow on the back end, as I showed you, as I will potentially show you later, sorry. And it goes through, it converts the resume, does the analysis, and then checks if this candidate matches the job. And just as I was explaining that, we already have a response. You can see how fast this tool is able to work. It's just in a few seconds, and it does all this analysis on the back. So let's go through. Here we can already see that the candidate's overall fit is 4 out of 10, and it gives us a justification to why it has, rated this candidate 4 out of 10. As you can see here, the candidate shows strong LLM engineering, prompt design, and all of this shows that they have the skills. And then it also gives us a risk factor. Here we have it as medium, and it tells us why it believes that this candidate is a medium, as well as a reward, and it does the same. It also goes further to show us the strength of this candidate, which of course you can read through, and also a weakness. And one very interesting thing you will notice is that it's using very specific keywords and requests that was clearly stated in the in the job description. So if we quickly go back to the job requirement again, you can see here that these are very particular requests that these candidates should have. We have all of these, WordPress, QA. So it is really going deep. First, it does this analytics where it passes the candidate's resume from PDF to text so that it goes through and really understands everything that is mentioned here. So as you can see, this person has some very good experience. They have all of the skills, skills with LLM, and so this is where that comparison is happening. So what's the next step? As a recruiter, you can go through this, decide if this candidate is a good fit, or if you find opportunities that you can upskill the candidates to help them get the role, because most times the job descriptions are not a perfect fit, but if there are opportunities to upskill, this is how it kind of helps you shorten down that decision making and shows you things that sometimes you might naturally overlook. So what's the next step? We have this update status here, which is where we make the decision as a recruiter. By default, every application comes in as new, so you can decide as a recruiter what's next. Here we have three options, right? Invite for interview or reject the candidate. In this case, I think 4 is a low point, so I'm just going to click on reject and update. So once that status changes to rejected, as you can see here, in a few seconds, the page is going to update and give us a tab here where we can share feedback. But you can also manually trigger that action by just refreshing the page. And now, because we have made a decision, we have this feedback portal here. We have a custom message that we've written. So here we are bringing in the candidate's name, the role that they applied for, and the company. And in this case, because we rejected Aaron, we have a message that says, we have a better fit for this role, so sorry, we're not continuing. And sending this feedback is as easy as just clicking this send button, which will automatically send this message to Aaron and notify them that, okay, this time they didn't make the cut. So this is basically how the tool works. And we can look at a few more examples. So let's go back to applications. And now you can see that we have Aaron here at 4. Let's try Jane Smith for this product marketing manager role. So now and again, we have a blank canvas. We've received information from Jane Smith. We have her resume attached. And here we also have a very different job description. In this case, it's for project marketing manager, so the requirements are different from the one we used in the first example. And again, it goes on and on. And let's perform the same test. So go to the overview, go to analyze match, give it a few seconds for it to load. And what's happening behind is a bunch of automations that is powered by N8N. As you can see here, we have all of this coming in from Airtable, which we've used as our backend. It does some content formation. Resume could be a doc or a PDF or a text, so it converts it to the right output format. In this case, we want it to be a text because texts are easier to pass into the large language model. In this case, we're using an OpenAI agent here, who does the analysis and sends us that information back to Airtable which then goes on to be displayed on Softr. Our Airtable looks like this. As you can see, some automations are happening in the back end. So it takes that information here from the job submission, for the role, the company, and all of that, and then does this analysis which you see on the front end. So let's take a look. In this case, you can see we finished analyzing Jane's CV. Jane has an overall fit of 8, which is a very good performance. So she closely aligns with this opportunity. Gives us a justification here because Jane probably has SaaS cloud companies, well with Google, go-to-market strategy, and all of those. What is the risk factor here? We have medium because she might need some time to learn how to use the Looker Studio. So I'm guessing that we have Looker Studio in the job requirement. And the reward factor is high because, as you can see, she has good experience here. Shows us her strengths here and also her weaknesses here. So let's take a look at the resume again. So this is Jane's resume. So you can see now it's been passed to text. We have Technova company experience here, SaaS, product market manager for CloudSpark. So it really picks up exactly what's in the resume. It doesn't make anything up and then compares it to the job requirement. So as you can see again, we have the specific needs. Let's see. You see we have the Looker Studio here as a requirement. That's why I mentioned it as a risk factor, because in Jane's resume we didn't have that very specific keyword. So you see right here. So again, in Jane's case, we will go to update status, and now I think Jane is good for an interview, and we will update that. And now the system knows that, okay, we want to invite Jane for an interview. And again, just because I don't want to waste some time, I'm just going to reload the page so that we get the options here for the sending of feedback. We go to that tab, and because Jane is a good fit, you can see that the message here is different. So we are inviting Jane for this interview, and here we can add a link to whatever appointment booking platform we have, and we can just do the same. So we click on send message, and it changes this to yes, and then it shows us that this message has been sent to Jane and when it was sent. In this case, this is the time that I'm doing this automation or demo. So this is how this tool works. There are a few more sections, which is where we have the job information itself. So these are the sample jobs that we're using for this demo. So as a recruiter, you can have your job information, prepared, written like this, well detailed, and the rest. And once the candidate submits that application, it sends in the data to the applications table, matching that job, and then the whole automation really works like this. As I showed you in the workflow here on 8N, we have two ways that this workflow is triggered. So one is time-based. It could be every 3 hours, every 2 hours, and the system just goes through, helps you make the decision. And all you need to do is review it, check if it really matches what you're trying to achieve for that particular hire, and then share that feedback. In general, this saves hours. It takes the whole process that would normally be weeks to just a few minutes. And at the end, I think the goal is to keep everybody satisfied. It reduces the work for the recruiter and also, lets the applicant know how and quickly if they are a good fit for a job or if they should move on with life and try to do something else. So I think that's the end of the demo really. If you're interested in getting something like this, you can reach out to me and we could build something that's really tailored to your own specific business needs. Maybe you're not interested in, using the same ranking as we do here, which is the justification, risk factor, reward. Maybe you have your own very specific use case and need. We can build and really use very good prompt engineering to help the AI, which is on the back end, you know, deliver you the specifics and the results that you need. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.